From January, Sweden will take the presidency of the European Union. The last time that happened was in 2009, and a lot has changed in the European Union dynamics and in the world. To discuss the proposals for the next 6 months, my guest is the Minister of European Affairs of Sweden, Jessika Roswall. Minister Roswall, thank you very much for being with us. Many problems have hit the European Union in the recent years, but the Russian invasion of Ukraine created a complex web of problems. What will be your approach during the presidency, some concrete measures and actions that you might take regarding this?
So for Swedish presidency, it would be priority to keep the unity and keep up supporting the Ukraine with all kinds of measures. And concretely, it's economically and militarily and humanitarian and also political to handle this in this hard time, and also to, of course, to keep up the sanctions and so forth against Russia.
And the European Union will be able to have the resources for that military and even financial assistance to the reconstruction as soon as that is possible.
I think we have to. The Ukrainians are not only fighting for their freedom, they're fighting also for our freedom.
Security and unity, you mentioned, that is important topics for the Swedish presidency. The Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson has mentioned them several times. When do you foresee that Sweden, as well as Finland, will join NATO, especially considering Turkey's obstacles to that?
I don't have an answer to that, but as soon as possible is our hope, of course. We are doing this in a close cooperation together with Finland, because that's one of the security issues for us. But I think also the war in Ukraine has symbolized or shown that the security for Europe is within together and to keep the unity in Europe.
Well, the EU is now sanctioning Russia. There's another package coming underway. How far should the EU go with this strategy, considering its own interests as well, and the goals that it has in terms of supporting Ukraine?
Well, when it comes to Russia, I think the EU has shown really good unity and put forward all these sanction packages. And now we are discussing the 9th package. And I think it's important to put that in place and move forward as long as it takes to move forward when it comes to sanctions and other pressures that you can have. And we also see high inflation. We have a lot of crises and parallels in EU and in the world. But we have to keep up the support to Ukraine and also to keep up the pressure on Russia.
What is the price that European Union citizens are willing to pay, considering so many economic problems that they express a lot of times via strikes and demonstrations?
All of our governments amongst the member states are struggling to help their households and also the companies to handle this winter and also to be prepared for next winter. And that will be, of course, of high importance for the Swedish presidency to handle all these questions. So I think we have to do a lot of things, both when it comes to national arrangements and also on the EU level.
So there's all this discussion about capping prices, about joint procurement. What you consider are the easiest and the consensus can be built in terms of having a supply of affordable energy? I know, for instance, that you are also very keen on nuclear, but it's not the same in all European Union.
Well, energy is, for me, is very closely linked also when it comes to green transition, which is another priority for Sweden. And I think that we need to talk to when energy together with green transition, but also remember that energy is also connected to security. So we have two legs to stand on when it comes to this.
The Green Deal is the motto for a sustainable future. But within the current crisis, how ambitious can European Union be? Will it be able to compete with massive investments in energy transition like the US or China are doing?
So EU is putting a lot of money and efforts when it comes to green transition, and I think that our industries are very good and in the forefront, and I see that a lot in Sweden, and we can combine both green transition with competitiveness and innovation. But we also have a lot of different measures within the EU. We have the Recovery Fund, we have the Repower EU, that can actually help both people and companies to do this transition, and I think that we can do it.
So let's talk now about asylum and migration. Your coalition government has the support of an extreme right party that in many other countries defend a kind of European fortress model. What are your proposals in terms of board management and also processing the cases of people that want to enter the EU with a respect for their human rights?
I think that most parties in Sweden think that we need to have the migration and asylum pact on place somewhere, and so for the Swedish presidency it's important to move the negotiations forward. This is it's a hard negotiations because it's a lot of member states that thinks differently about this. So this will be a difficult one to negotiate, but we are our ambition is to move forward in a lot of those the different acts that are combined in the Migration Pact.
Let's move to the rule of law. Despite this new compromise this week, Hungary still has some EU funds frozen until it implements some judicial and anti-corruption reforms. So will this be a good strategy in terms of having those two countries and maybe others that coming to the liberal democratic style of governing?
For me, EU values and rule of law is of importance. It's a fundamental values we need. That's the reason why we call us a union that people and other countries want to connect to, because we have these values. So we have to defend them every day. During the Swedish presidency, every presidency have to defend them. And we have different tools in the toolbox. And now we see that one of them, the conditionality mechanism, has actually put in force, and that is a very good sign. So I think that is the strategy to move forward, to continue this using the different toolbox.
So you think the European Commission is doing a good work in using this mechanism as a central tool for having the rule of law respected within the European Union borders?
Yes, exactly. I think that we now can see that we actually can use these different tools that we have.
My last question to finish. What do you think of the corruption scandal that is involving the European Parliament? Is this isolated case or maybe the tip of the iceberg in terms of other institutions in the European Union?
I cannot answer that. I think it's a serious accusation. Well, we need to see the investigations, but we always need to discuss corruption and how we can work against corruption.
Thank you very much, Minister Roswall, and good luck for the presidency.
Thank you very much.